You didn't like my beginning? Welcome to the show who's not been
No.
named yet with Christine.
yeah.
I'm your host, Christine. Do I talk about the fact that I'm drinking wine? Hi everyone, I'm Christine. I think I'm starting some type of video series because my fiance wants me to, and he's behind the camera. But today I'm going to talk about my educational journey. I'm currently a doctoral student, and we're just gonna flow from there and see how it goes. So anybody who is interested in doctoral education, specifically doctorate of education, which is what I'm doing right now, that's what I'm gonna talk about. So let's get started. Anyway, I'm drinking Woodbridge Pinot Noir because it was open, honestly. It's the reason why I went with that one. We have some array of others that maybe in following episodes I'll get into. I'm currently enrolled in a doctoral program at Rutgers University in the Graduate School of Education, and specifically my program track is called Education, Culture, and Society. So we mainly focus on the inequalities in education and what we can do to make a more equal education system. So previously, before that, I did my master's at Monmouth for student affairs and college counseling. And then before that, I did my undergraduate in communication at Rutgers University, New Brunswick. So I made a full circle right back to where I started. Yeah, so that's my post-secondary education journey. And so now I'm in the EDD program. So because I work at Rutgers, I was able to start taking classes non-matriculating, which essentially means that I was not matriculated, meaning that I was not enrolled in the actual program yet, which I did for a couple of reasons. So I started my first class in spring of 2018. So I took my first class in spring of 2018. And by enrolling in the classes before I was actually like matriculating or accepted into the program, I was able to see if I liked the courses that they offered and liked the program and was interested in the material, because doctoral programs are, and any program in general, even master's programs, can really vary, especially I have found that since studying education programs can really vary. So it was important to me that I checked out the program before I invested my time and more money into the program by being fully accepted and enrolled. And so I did my first class and I really liked it. I had a really great experience. And so I kind of from there just took it one class at a time. So I was able to knock out a decent amount of electives. I was able to take 12 credits worth of electives. So I did one every semester for an entire year. And so that included summer. So I did spring, summer, fall, and then finally in the spring, I was accepted into the program in spring of 2019, and we do a summer start. So I started in summer of 19. Up until that point, I had taken electives and I was able to choose what electives I wanted to take. So since I'm interested in social justice, I tried to pick classes that were about that topic. So most of my electives were in that area. And then the summer that we first start, we take a leadership seminar class and a class called Learners and Learning. So it's just about how people learn. And there was also another class that some of my cohort took, but I didn't have to take that because some of my classes for my master's transferred and that class was covered. Sometimes master's classes will transfer to a doctoral program. I think it just depends on what your master's is in and what the program is like for your doctoral program. So for me, my master's was very social justice based. And since the program that I'm in at Rutgers is social justice based, a decent amount of my classes were able to transfer over. So I took 2 summer classes, and then since then I've just been taking, because I was not matriculating for a year, I was able to take 1 class at a time. So in the fall I took, besides for summer, I can take 1 class at a time. So in the fall I did 1 class, which was like, it was called Inquiry 1. So it's just introduction to research basically. And then right now, which is fall 2020, I'm in basically the second half of that class. So it has been a journey. I feel like I've been doing 1 class at a time for a long time, but I do not regret taking 1 class at a time because I was able to really offset the pressure of once I was fully enrolled. So most of the students and peers that are in my cohort, and we all come from different backgrounds. Some of us are in higher education. Some of my peers are in K through 12. So, and some of them work at different schools, private, public, Montessori. So we really get a good reach of different types of learning and different styles and environments, which is great because it makes for great conversation. But so obviously my peers who were in like K through 12 didn't have the opportunity to do something like non-matriculating to start taking classes early on. So they take 2 classes a semester, and if you're working full-time and if you are also essentially a full-time student taking, 2 classes a semester as a doctoral student, it's a lot. So I've seen the way that they, they're really under a lot of pressure. I feel like I'm under a lot of pressure and I'm only one class. So I know for me personally, taking 2 classes would have been really hard. The great thing about Rutgers is you can do it at a slower pace. So you don't have to do the recommended 2 classes in the fall, 2 classes in the spring, 3 classes in the summer. You don't have to do it that way. You can slow it down, which is a nice option for students. I think if I'm just going to try to understand, if I had not been at Rutgers and I just got into the program, I probably would have jumped right into it, because once you get to a level like doctoral education, you've been in education for a long time. You've been through a lot of schooling, so you feel like I can, if this is the way it's set up, that's the way I'm going to do it. Not realizing how really difficult it is going to be to manage doing full-time work and practically full-time, doctoral work too. So we had a couple students who, took leave and dropped out after the summer. We've had a couple stop after the fall semester because it's a lot, and it takes a lot on you as a student and as a person. And, we all have families too and lives that we go home to. So it's a lot, to manage. So I do recommend, for me, it was helpful to just do the 1 class at a time. And even though it's going to take me a little bit longer, it's worth it to also just not only be able to manage my time and really just feel like I can balance everything, but also you have to know what you want to research. And sometimes that might take a little while for you to really figure out. And, because I took 1 class at a time and I've essentially been in the program now for I've been taking classes for 2 years. I have a really good idea of what I want to research for my dissertation, where there's a decent amount of my peers who are like, I really don't know, or like I'm juggling a couple different ideas. If you can come to establish a topic area, it helps you during your coursework because you can center all the stuff that you're doing in your coursework around the topic that you're interested in. So when you go to write about that topic, you've been doing years and years, 2-3 years of research on that topic, and it also helps you to refine and define exactly what you want to do. It hasn't been easy as it might sound, but a lot's gone on in 2 years. I moved, I bought a house, I got engaged. I'm still working full time. Not only got engaged, been planning a wedding for 1.5 years and working and going to school. It's a lot to manage. So it's definitely something that you have to be in a place to be ready to do. And that's what also was really great about taking non-matriculating classes, was that I could see if I could handle it. Essentially, I could see if this was something that was going to be manageable or if it was just going to be too much. So there are days that I'm like, I'm over this. I'm just tired of doing school. I'm tired of doing work. But the prize at the end is, very motivating, and not even just, the name or the degree, but I'm very interested in what I want to research. And I know that it will help inform like my program and what I specifically do as an educator. And so that really makes me excited to do that work so I can implement updates and new ways of doing, my job that are going to benefit the students that we're serving today. So I'm hopeful that the research that I do will help to improve the way we support our students. So it's March now of spring semester. approaching kind of more of the tail end of the semester, and at the end I'll have a mock, I guess, dissertation proposal, which is exciting. And this summer I'll take 3 classes, which is gonna be a lot, but for me, my fall is more busy than my summer. So to take 3 classes in the summer will be way more manageable, and I know that about just my cycle for my career and how when's busy and when's not. So we still have a summer program, but instead of advising, over 100 students, which is what I do now, I have just my incoming freshman class for a couple of weeks. So for me, summer, is a lot lighter, which is helpful. So I will do 3 classes this summer, survive like I always survive, even though it seems like a lot. And I'll just have 1 class left in the fall, 1 in the spring, and then it's on to dissertation, hopefully, and writing, as long as I pass, which I'm sure I'll be fine, is my qualifying exams. So yeah, that's kind of my journey through so far. I think that if somebody is thinking about going into a doctorate of education or even a PhD for education, that there's a lot of research typically that goes into looking for what program you want to go into. I got lucky. Where I work happened to have not just an EDD program, but the philosophy behind the program that I'm in just really aligns with my core beliefs and philosophies for education. So it really overlapped perfectly for me and worked out. And I know everybody's not in the same scenario. There are people who, I know coworkers who worked in my department and did their doctorate at a different school just because either they weren't able to get into the program at my institution and the institution they were working at, or they were, it didn't align with what they wanted to do in education. And that's okay. It's every scenario is different. We're all unique people with unique needs, and all that has to be taken into consideration. There's also a financial side of it that's taken into consideration for most people. So for me, tuition remission is helpful. It's, there's still student fees and there's still some taxing that happens, but I'm young, I don't have children, I have a savings. So to have, a shortened paycheck is okay for me from being taxed. But, for some people it might not be. And, those are things you kind of have to weigh out and decide on beforehand, and have a good understanding of yourself, your finances, what you want and need. So there's a lot of layers, but that is just, I guess, like an overarching theme of at least my program and what I've experienced. So it's an intuitive, and you have to have a good understanding of yourself and your family and what they want and need and the time commitment that it's going to cost. But my program is, once you're enrolled, it's a 3 to 3.5, maybe more year program. So, and because I did non-matriculating for a year, it's more like 4 years for me, but that is okay. Like, to me, it was worth it to just do the 1 class at a time, because I like school for the most part, as frustrating as it can be and as annoying as sometimes I don't want to write a paper. I just want to get to dissertation phase. I love sitting in the classroom and talking and discussing and critically thinking about education. And it's great to have people, even though I'm in higher education, to have peers who are in K through 12, because the students they worked with are eventually going to be the students I work with. And I do believe there needs to be a better and bigger bridge between those 2 worlds, because it's so weak for the most part. So, creating those relationships and just hearing what they're experiencing and how things are going in their schools is really helpful. That is my experience with journeying to and kind of through my doctoral program, probably about halfway as of this semester. So I enjoy education. I enjoy learning more about higher education and talking about specifically injustice in education and how we can improve that. So, and exposing the injustice in education. But so we'll see where the journey takes me, and hopefully if you're interested in that, you can follow me on Twitter at @cpitts_. Cheers.